We're going to get started right on time, to the minute. We are going to get started with our second session of our Grave Matters series. Last week we did some theological reflecting together on the end of life, as well as started to give some materials, which I hope either if you got last week or got this week, should help you with your funeral planning and the sort of liturgical component of getting your affairs in order, which is, as we said last week, a great gift to your loved ones and people that you care about as they try to grieve your loss and also find a way collectively through the art of liturgy and music and scripture to honor your life. So please take a look at those. And again, I reiterate my invitation to any of you who would like to sit down and have a conversation about that or plan that out together, we can do that. Today, we're shifting modes slightly, but not entirely, because all of this is sort of under the umbrella of theologically reflecting on how we prepare ourselves for the end of our life. Anytime we're thinking about our mortality, we're thinking about things that are beyond just the here and the now. So if you have your packet, I hope you do, and we'll make sure you get one for Betty here. Betty, make sure you get a packet for today. We'll give you one right now. Thank you. One of the things I have discovered of all the great treasures in this church, the greatest treasure by far that keeps being reiterated to me are the people who make it up. We have a beautiful building. We have generous people, but the lives and the experience and the faith that our congregants bring to this community are truly its greatest gift. So we are the great beneficiaries of that in this series, in that we get to hear from the Reverend Frances Dilley today, and then next week we're going to hear from her husband Jim and from Stephen, who will talk to us about legal and financial matters. But today, Frances is going to be drawing in her work as a hospital chaplain and a hospice chaplain, talking about some of the medical components that we need to be preparing and thinking about as we approach the end of our lives. So we're very grateful. She's also preaching today, so you're going to be hearing a lot from Frances, and you'll be the better for it. So it's a great day for us here. So Frances, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Father Noah. Thank you. And I just, before you even leave, so super grateful to you for having the courage coming in as a young man, right? To a bunch of gray hairs, I see. Some under 50, which I'm grateful that you are here too. But thank you for your energy, your vision, and your courage. I've been in the church for a long time, and maybe the pastor or priest offers one Wednesday night or one Saturday morning, but never like 4 Sundays in a row to talk about the purple elephant in the room. We're all going to die, right? So this is, thank you. I'm just really grateful and grateful to be part of it too. So come on in. There are 3 seats up here, right up in the front. Woohoo! And you came back. I'm really impressed. Okay. Thank you again. I wasn't aware that if you were here last week, Father Noah did a beautiful reflection on the leaves of the season and how beautiful they are and how they're falling gracefully and beautifully, and this wonderful game that he plays with his kids trying to catch these leaves. And I've played that with my grandchildren, and they tell me that if you catch them, it's good luck. Those are hard suckers to catch as they're falling. I mean, it's great to rake them up, but I didn't know that if he was aware of this book called Leaves Falling Gently. It's a beautiful book. Dr. Susan Bower-Wu wrote it, and she is a PhD scientific research in mind-body medicine. And she has lots of clinical experience as an RN with oncology, psychiatric, and hospice patients. So she just has a breadth and a width of, and depth too, of the research and then her own experience that she shares for patients and also for families living with serious illness, life-limiting illness. And I thought I'd start with a quote of hers. Actually, it's from the beginning. She does answer this question. And we're talking about living, right? I said that last week. This is called Grave Matters in the End of Life, but we're talking about living and living well and living fully until we take that last breath. Hopefully, that's kind of the plan. Nothing ever goes according to our plan, but if we can at least think about it, talk about it, make some sense of it, get our intent out into the world with somebody that we love, that is what our intent is for all of you. But Dr. Bower-Wu answers this question, what is meant by living fully? Her response means to have a mind that is peaceful. It also means to appreciate your life and to be open to all possibilities. She suggests that living fully means being curious about life's journey and cultivating a sense of ease as well-being. Even though the road will take many twists and many turns, Dr. Bower-Wu points towards the importance of accepting all of life, even the hard parts. And when it means we may face our dying, then living that dying fully and living it well. I'd like to give you a little bit of perspective of where I'm coming from as a hospital chaplain. After seminary, I did a year's residency at Maryview Hospital in Portsmouth, and for 14 years, loved my work. I worked with some incredibly gifted doctors and nurses and nurse practitioners and social workers and other chaplains. I did a year's residency in Portsmouth before I started this career that chose me, really, which I think sometimes that happens. The last 5 years of that experience, I worked specifically with a team, the palliative medicine team. And our job was to meet with patients and families and talk about these very issues. So as I said last week, it's very different when you talk about important stuff in your own home in a comfortable spot versus when you're in the hospital, whether you're in the intensive care unit or if you're in the emergency department, it's even worse. There's no privacy. You know, you're covered with a sheet, you have a sheet covering the door, you can hear everything that's going on outside. So again, that's one of the reasons that I think it's so important to bring this up and talk about it before something happens and you end up in the emergency room. And plus, while we can still talk, right? We can still think, we can still make our voices heard and known and what our wishes are. We, as a team, doctor, nurse practitioner, nurse, social worker, me, our team listened to these conversations over and over again. That's why our team was consulted to help patients and families. No one else wanted to do it, right? And no one else had the time, and we did, and it was such a gift. Anyone here medically background? I just want to make sure, okay?
RN.
Okay.
Both oncology and geriatrics.
Okay, good, yes.
RN, mostly hospice.
Okay, great. Right.
Psychiatrist.
Okay. I'm not trying to touch and step on anyone's medical toes because I'm coming from the perspective of the hospital chaplain. But I did see a lot of stuff. And I watched a lot of patients and families really struggle with choices that were made for them. And I think, we don't even let someone choose our car or choose what we're going to have for dinner, rarely. But, here we are in the hospital and someone is choosing all of this care that might be great for some other person. There's a great reason to have all of these medical treatments, but maybe not for you. And maybe not for you, especially at the end of life. They're not so great at end of life. Sometimes instead of being life prolonging, they're death prolonging. And it's not the type of life that I would call quality of life. But again, that's a very individual thing. Each one of us defines quality of life differently, right? And what's important to you at end of life? When I asked our daughter, who is a nurse practitioner at Washington Hospital Center up in DC, and she's in the neuro ICU, so you can imagine she sees all the gunshot wounds and all the stuff that comes through Washington Hospital. And I asked her, what would you do if you had 50 people in a room and you could tell them anything? And she said, well, first of all, the paperwork that I've just given you is basic and sterile, which, okay, I was kind of hoping she'd give it a little bit more encouragement, like it's really important to fill it out. And then she said 2 stories I remember. One, a man, in addition to the gunshot wounds, she sees brain bleeds and strokes. So it's not just all the really icky stuff, it's sort of that other icky stuff that comes with life. She said she has 2 favorite stories. One, when they asked this man, "What's important to you?" What's important to you? He said, "If I can't go fishing with my grandson, I don't want life-prolonging treatment." And the other was a nun who said, "As long as I can watch October baseball and eat chocolate ice cream, I'm good. I don't mind if I'm in a nursing facility. I don't mind if somebody else is doing all of my activities of daily living. I just want to be able to watch baseball." And that's a little bit gray, you know, nothing's black and white, and medicine is certainly not black and white. So even if we fill out all these wonderful forms or whatever form you've already filled out, it isn't probably going to go that way, but at least you've made your intent known. Excuse me, my mouth is really dry all of a sudden. So kudos to you if you're under 50 and you're here. You may be helping someone, your mom or your dad or your grandparent or someone else that you love, and that's even better. You can do it together, which would be great. Like, right, let's fill this paperwork out together. Let's talk about what's important to us so that I know. Let's see, what else can I share with you? Daily living, important. All right, so we've talked about beginning to think about and talk about what's important to you. How do you define quality of life? What's acceptable to you? And another interesting point is how does your faith inform your choices and decisions? Or does it? I think some of our most difficult conversations in the hospital were with people who were strong people of faith, whatever faith tradition that was. And they were waiting for a miracle. They were waiting for God to do a miracle. And while I applaud the faith, I watched the patient suffering with this treatment that realistically was not going to bring them back to any quality of life. Again, my definition of quality of life, but maybe for them it was okay. So those, again, are really good reasons. I have a strong faith too, but God's going to do a miracle whether we do medical intervention or not, is kind of my thinking. So anyway, I'm just putting that out there because I think that's important. Start to name your fears. What is it that keeps us so afraid of talking about death, about dying? Maybe a past experience, maybe something that's really real still to you after 50, 60 years. You watched someone die, and that was really painful. Just talk about it. One of my favorite sermons of all time was name your fears, name the demons. If we name them, we get them out there, they lose their power over us. So don't be afraid to talk to somebody, whether it's Father Noah. I'm happy to be with you on this journey too. So if there's something that's important that you need to get up and get out and have it lose some of its power over your ability to talk about this. Being a burden. Who wants to be a burden, right? Nobody wants to be a burden. No one wants to be stuck in the nursing facility on life support, not knowing anyone. I don't know, maybe that's your quality of life. Maybe I should just back up a little bit with that. I don't want to be stuck in a nursing facility not knowing who I am or where I am and on life support. So I have told my family, and I think I shared last week, when I start to update anything, my family just goes like this: God, please don't say anything else. We know, Mom, we know.
Isn't it reality? People, it's not a fear, but I think it's just being real, reality, that it's happening.
It's going to happen.
Nobody wants to face reality.
Some of us don't, for sure, yeah. Yeah, but sometimes there's usually a catch. There's usually a hook of something else that we keep dragging along with us. We're not sure what it is, but it keeps us from expressing. So anyway, I encourage you to think about that, talk about that. No one wants to be in pain. I don't think you want to be in pain at the end. That's a fear. They're financial fears. Am I going to be able to pay for treatment? Am I going to be where I want to be, receiving the treatment that I think that I need? So all those important conversations, they are a gift, as Father Noah said. In your booklet are some papers. And you don't have to look at them right now because then I'll lose you. But there are many different types of medical directives. There are just a couple of them in here to show you the range. One is a standard sort of Virginia Advanced Medical Directive. It's called Advance for a reason. We like to think of things and do things before, in advance of when they happen. The other one is called 5 Wishes, and it's much more detailed. I personally like the 5 Wishes because it's much more detailed. You get to write stuff in. It takes time to do it. You really have to think about it. Again, it's not meant to be done in a hurry, but it is meant to be done with someone that you love and you trust. Even more important than doing a medical directive is naming a medical power of attorney. You might not want your legal next of kin to make decisions for you. In the event that you're not able to make them yourself, make sure that you pick someone who will honor your wishes, not what they want or what they don't want. And you, I'm sure, have all heard or done this yourself. When someone starts to talk about these important things and you say, oh, please, I'm not ready to hear that yet. Don't talk about it yet. So that shuts down whoever is trying to have a conversation with you and you're not able to go any further. That's maybe not the person that you want for your medical power of attorney, because he or she may be doing what they want for you instead of honoring what you want for yourself. Make that clear, make all of this stuff clear, and then make copies of it. Make sure you have a copy that you can put your hand on, not in the safe deposit box at the bank, because at 2 a.m. on Sunday morning, it's not going to make any difference. Be able to put your hand on it. Even better, keep a life file, as Father Noah said last week, whether it's a digital file or a real paper file, something that you can put your hand on and give to somebody. And even better, if it's your neighbor that might be taking you to the emergency department at 2 a.m., make sure that that person has your family's phone numbers. Make sure contact information is flowing and free so that your medical power of attorney who lives in California knows that you're in the emergency room, and she or he knows what's going on and can make decisions if you're not able to. Again, we can't have enough communication. Some of you got a little booklet, and I really like this because it has some really good explanations. Hard choices for loving people. If you did not get this, I've ordered 25 more copies, so I'll bring them next week. So if you didn't get one, I'll bring some more next week because it's really good. And I would encourage you to familiarize yourself with some of the medical terms. That's one thing that our team did with families and with patients, is to sort of navigate this language. Medical language is a whole nother language, and usually well-meaning, but doctors come in and they just sort of lump it all in your lap, say good luck, see you later, make good choices, and they don't really they don't have the time to go through what each one is and the reality of where you are or where your loved one is, and what the likelihood of that treatment being helpful is. So take some time, learn what CPR is, learn what a feeding tube is, learn what a ventilator is, comfort measures, palliative care. All of those things are important for us just to even have a little bit of knowledge of, again, so that you can make your good choices and decisions for what's important for you or for somebody that you love. And also, as you're letting your medical power of attorney or letting your friends and family know, let your doctor know. Take your form into said doctor. And if your doctor is part of the Sentara system, I'm not sure about the other facilities, I'm sure they have their own, but theirs is online. You can fill it out online, becomes part of their digital stuff, and you can also make a hard copy for yourself and again for your medical power of attorney. But consult with your doctor about it. I mean, it's a great conversation. You can, again, make sure that he or she is aware of who you are, what's important to you, what you want, what you don't want. And all of these things, CPR, feeding tube, as I've said, they have a place and they have a time in medical treatment, not so much at the end of life. When you had surgery, you're on ventilator. When you're when you're done with surgery, you get off the ventilator. It's there for a reason. But to sustain someone's life, there again, my opinion is coming out, but it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch someone that you love. Definitely hard to watch someone you love to go through something that maybe they wouldn't have wanted to go through. So talk to your doctor. There are doctor's orders that if your goals kind of align with a different type of form, I did not put these in here. It's a physician's order for scope of treatment at end of life, or a durable do not resuscitate order, meaning allow me to die naturally. If my heart stops and my breathing stops, I'm dead. And depending on how long it's been since I've had oxygen to my brain, there may be some brain damage there. So again, it's never black and white unless I just go to sleep. Don't we all want to just go to sleep, right? Shock for our families, but what a beautiful way to go. What a beautiful way to go. So I think that may be where Dr. Bauer was talking about the ease and living at peace. And I think of Jim Sell when I think of this, and that beautiful statement of faith that he wrote the night, I think, before he died. I mean, go figure, right? And I've heard that some of us know, even when we don't maybe cognitively know, but we just sense something. I've heard that we kind of know when that's going to happen. I don't know if that's true or not. I've also heard that we die how we live. So think about that. If you're a fighter, I'm just saying. So think about that. Again, I'm bringing up the stuff, that mind, body, spirit that the YMCA talks about. It all goes together. We can't separate out the physical part of ourselves from the emotional and the spiritual. I can't. That all goes together. If I'm sick in my spirit, if I'm sick in my emotional life, my mental life, my body's going to know that too, and it's going to feel that. So all of it goes together. So living at peace, living at ease, I think will kind of help all of this go a little bit more smoothly. Thoughts, questions, a lot of information. Yes?
I think it's hard in today's world, with all that's going on globally, to live in peace inside of yourself, because it's every day you're assaulted with pain that other people are going through. It's difficult.
Yes, it is. I think we have to just turn it off sometimes, for sure, for self-protection. Yes, Larry.
Is it appropriate at this time to talk about the role of hospice?
Please, yes. If you'd like to. Would you like for me to? Yes. Hospice is a wonderful service. Typically at the end of life, and there are very strict criteria. If a physician would not be surprised if your life-limiting illness or diagnosis would not take you out within 6 months, let's say. I think that's kind of the 6 months, yes. Then hospice is a great service to call in. I don't think you can ever call hospice too early if you're thinking about it, even because hospice will say, sorry, you don't qualify right now, or your loved one doesn't qualify right now, but call us back when. So hospice, quality of life, all about quality of life and comfort, pain-free, not just physical pain, again, it's the emotional and the spiritual. All of the pain that comes along with watching someone die at the end of life, as well as living that death. So hospice is a beautiful, beautiful support. I have to share that my mom, bless her heart, 19 months on hospice. Like, right, is that the record? I kind of laughed and thought, my mom's going for the record. Because usually it's so much shorter, because we wait so long to accept this is the end of life. This is what the end of life looks like. That we don't call until 2 days before, and then we call and you only get the services for 2 days, as opposed to 19 months. I had the hospice nurse on the phone saying, when is she going to die? and she never graduated. That's the term. You graduate from hospice if you're in and you qualify, and then all of a sudden everything stabilizes and you kind of in this little plateau, and you get off of hospice. You graduate from hospice, but then you can get back on. So hospice, thank you, Larry. It is a wonderful service. Yes. Go ahead.
With hospice, is there any opportunity for organ donation?
Yes. I think there's always opportunity for organ donation. I'd let LifeNet or whoever take charge of that. I know they have certain criteria as well, but they can always use skin yes. So.
But not hearts and.
Well, skin is an organ too. So, but not. I think that's a really good question to address with somebody who knows a lot more about organ donation. But it's always worth a try, right? Because they can use something.
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. Yes.
This is an organ donation question.
Okay.
I am theoretically an organ donor, but I'm also 80 years old. I mean, who's going to want my old heart?
But again, they might want your eyes or your skin or your tissue or a ligament. Yes. So you just let them make that decision. As long as you're available to it and willing, and someone will honor that decision. Yeah, they'll use.
There are parts of me that
Yes. He's saying yes. I think so. We got that. Yes.
So I'm going to kind of change the subject a little.
Okay.
Because this is a pet peeve, I've seen it many times. At the end of life, a family would come in and say, why isn't she on an IV? Why aren't, basic. She needs, and water, liquid is the worst, absolutely the worst thing you can have. You don't want a well-hydrated body as you're dying.
Why is that?
If you've ever seen anybody die, there's a concept called tunneling. Deep, hard breathing. The more fluid you have, the harder that breathing's going to be.
Yeah, you kind of blow up. Yeah. Kind of the same with food too. We always think love is food, so I gotta feed her, right? I gotta feed her, and not so much. Maybe that one little sip or chocolate ice cream, that one little bite of chocolate ice cream, but sometimes that's all it is. It's not a whole lot of food. So our concept of feeding at the end of life is a little bit different too. Kim, you have a question?
Yeah, on hospice, do you call hospice directly or do you need to engage through a doctor?
I would, if I weren't already familiar with or in relationship with a doctor, yes, you can call directly. But they may, yes, absolutely. They will help navigate it. And I didn't answer really, it's a whole medical team that you get with hospice. It's the doc, the medical director, you get the nurse that comes out a couple of times a week, you get the CNA that comes to give a bath or help with activities of daily living, you get the social worker, you get the chaplain, and then you get the healing massage person, and oh my gosh, they're just on and on resources. Yeah, did that answer? Yeah. If you want to start on your own and just call a hospice, and I'm sure everyone has a neighbor or a friend who has used hospice services, so someone would have a recommendation. If not, yeah, check with your doctor and say which is the best in the area. And you can always fire them. If you don't like them, get a new one. Yeah, definitely. Chemistry is important. Hang on, somebody else had a question? Yes?
I need to make that decision about hospice, but my mom's just turning 90, and I was told by the doctor that she should be under palliative care, and then her doctor said no, hospice care. What is the difference?
There is a difference. Hospice always involves palliative care because palliative is comfort, so hospice always is about comfort. But you can have palliative care, which is, again, quality of life, seeing where you are in the disease process or the life-limiting illness and helping you make good choices, but you can still pursue treatment when you're with palliative service. I'm not familiar with a whole lot of outpatient palliative services here, but there may be.
But hospice, you've given up treatment, correct? You have just accepted.
Yes, yeah,
But-
Yeah.
but- Okay, so she should be,
yeah.
okay, thank you.
Maybe it would be helpful if you would spend a little time defining hospice.
Okay,
I've always thought that it was more of a legal status in which treatment, curative treatment wouldn't be administered, but palliative treatment would. And obviously, there's a lot more to it than that.
well, it's not a legal status, it's so much of what you just said. There's no longer a cure that is being, I'm no longer seeking curative treatment. I am accepting where I am in the disease process, and I want, or my family wants for me, total comfort, which is what I want from the very beginning. I just want to be comfortable. I don't want any of the bells and whistles. But as I said, the hospice team is a full team, and you get support not just during the illness and death, but they will follow you for a whole year afterwards. It's the medical piece with every one of the MD, medical director, RN, NP, nurse practitioner, or the CNA who comes to do your activities of daily living and the showering, the bathing. Then you get the social worker, and you get the chaplain, and you get the healing massage person, and you get what other, music therapy. I mean, they have the whole, it is fabulous, yes. And it is free with Medicare. So yes, it is a wonderful service. Frank, am I missing something? No? Good enough?
Would palliative care even involve some surgical procedures that might be being done not to move towards curing or necessarily prolonging life, but to make the existing life easier?
Quality of life. Yeah.
So even in hospice, you can still have certain surgical procedures.
That depends on the specific hospice. You know, the Medicare rules are pretty clear for them when they're meeting criteria or not, and then I think some will do things like that you're describing, and some won't. So it really depends specifically on the hospice that's chosen. Yeah, but those are good questions as you're entering into hospice. Yeah.
That kind of hits on what I was asking. I was not aware that hospice was a unit of some sort of business, and there's one here, one here, one here, one here, and you choose the one you want, and this and that and the other thing.
It is a business, yes, and there are many. There are many, yes. And if you choose one and you don't like them, you can fire them and get a new one. Yes. And they'll tell you what they'll do. When they come out and you sign the contract, they'll tell you, and if they're not doing what they say they're going to do, then I think that's good reason to find somebody else. I don't want to leave hospice if we're not done with. Any other questions about? Yes.
One advantage of hospice is when you sign up with them, no matter which one you sign up, you get an end-of-life kit that's close to. So you're able to use the morphine or whatever you want immediately when you need it. You don't have to wait hours to get it.
And by kit, you mean medicines, not like the paperwork and the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's termination kit, if you like.
Okay. Did everybody hear that? You get medications with hospice that are right there and available, and yeah, the idea is that they are ready at any moment, that any change comes, that those who are with, I guess to make the distinction too, there are no current hospice houses in this area. Hospice services come to your home or someone's home where you are. Typically they want a caregiver there all the time. And again, the hospice doesn't stay for 24/7. Hospice comes in and out. And depending on where you are in that journey too, they will come more often towards the end of life. Somebody over here had
I was going to make a comment, Frank.
Okay.
Having used hospice as a family member for my mother and dad, they're phenomenal. And family members are so appreciative of the service they provide, not only to them, but also to us, the family members that are experiencing this death. Case I can't say enough good things about it. So.
Good point. Very good point. I think anyone that has used hospice services can probably vouch for the same. Yeah, life-giving to the family for sure. Any other thoughts? Man, we're doing great. We got plenty of time. Yeah.
Different topic, but just kind of a practical question. Let's say you're home, you have to call 911, maybe having a heart attack. They come and get you, and you don't want to be resuscitated. How do they find that out? Like, let's say it's in your home. Does your loved one tell them then and there, or the documents have to be ready for action?
The documents do have to be ready for action.
And how and where?
I've heard people put it on their refrigerator. I've heard people put it on the back of the front door. It's usually a very bright gold color. I did not get the original. I just copied this right off of the website. So that's what it looks like, and it says stop.
Okay, so
but yeah, you do. Yeah. Yeah, and I've seen bracelets. Are they still doing bracelets? Yes? Yeah. So you can get jewelry of some sort that says don't. My daughter wanted to have tattooed across her chest, DNR. Yeah. Don't you dare. It is, it's a violent and wonderful, oh my gosh, yeah. I would get accused of assault if I did it to you on the street. So it's not what it looks like in the movies. Yeah, it's violent. And there's a reason for it sometimes. But yeah, if you don't want to be resuscitated and you're calling 911 for someone else, this has to be, like right front and center. Oh, I just looked up durable do not resuscitate, DDNR, yeah, durable do not resuscitate. And it could be a lot more positive, right? It could say allow natural death, right? Wouldn't that be nice? Allow natural death. Apparently when you're in the Navy, that's what it says. I worked with a doc who served in the Navy, and he said, yeah, what's this do not resuscitate stuff? Yeah.
Yes. So even though you have your paperwork on file in the hospital, you're not covered in the ambulance for that paperwork.
Unless you have this. Yeah.
The EMTs have to find it.
Yeah.
And the refrigerator is the most common, and it's in a big red envelope, just magnets on your refrigerator, and they're supposed to look.
Yeah, or on the back of the door, back of the front door, I've heard too. People would put it there. No, this is not, because this is a physician's order. I did not put the doctor's order. You can't just fill this out. Your doc has to fill this out.
Oh, we have to go to your doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So if this aligns with your goals and you feel like this is what you want, talk to your doc about that. And also there's another form which I did not fill out or did not put in your packet. It's called, this is the one I was telling you about, the POST form. In Virginia, it's the physician's order for scope of treatment. They're pulsed and mulced, and you know, if we could complicate something, we do. But yeah, this is another doctor's order, and so you can't fill it out. You can talk to your doc about it. And again, if these align with your goals and what you want or don't want, they're great to have. That's the assurance that you won't be resuscitated. Or you won't be. This one, the POST form, not only addresses the CPR, the do not resuscitate, but the comfort measures and don't take me back to the hospital. So it gets more specific than just the DNR. And the feeding, it addresses the feeding tube. Yeah. Am I confusing you more than?
Well, it sounds like there's two different things here. The first is that your wishes, 5 wishes, whatever, which you can set on file. Mm-hmm. Now, young people die too, and some of those forms, if you're not aware you have a problem, you need to approach your doctor. How soon do you go to approach this question?
I think that's a great question, and you're right. It is two different things. One, I can take care of the medical directive I can do on my own. I probably have to have a witness for my signature, and I need like the medical power. Usually it's not the medical power of attorney who's witnessing your signature, but you do need somebody to witness that, yeah, this person can make her or his own decisions. I can do that on my own. These forms, the post form and the durable do not resuscitate order, are doctor's orders. So these are the ones that you need to have the discussion with your doc about. And how soon you do that? I don't know, I can't answer that. Today? Yesterday? Yeah. Have you got an answer for that one? No. Okay.
But the signature that is witnessed, does it have to be notarized?
These forms that are in your packet do not. Some do, yes. So again, explore, find one that you like. Stephen, you may be able to answer that more. Yes, there are forms that do need to be notarized, but they're all legal, whether they have to be notarized or not. These forms that are in here are legal forms. So,
medical directors just have to be witnessed.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. So your neighbor or your friend can do that too. Yeah, got a couple of questions up front. Yes?
Well, I just wanted to say that the EMTs are on the line if you don't have a DNR. Like as a daughter, I can't say, don't you dare resuscitate my mother, she doesn't want that.
Exactly.
There's no legal form that EMT has to do.
You're exactly right.
So that's a situation, or they're in trouble.
You're exactly right. Yeah. It's standard care. That's when you go to the emergency room, they're doing the standard stuff. CPR and all that, all the bangs, and they're there. Yeah. Yep.
So
thank you. That's a good.
And it's up to you to make it legal.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
I hate to just board you.
No, that's okay.
But let's say you're in a car accident and you are not breathing, so you haven't been breathing for 5 minutes and you don't want them to resuscitate. Do you need to have that document like in your purse, in your car?
Get a bracelet.
So the smartest thing is have something on your body if you felt strongly that based on a certain set of circumstances, don't do that stuff.
Yeah. I think accidents probably fall into that category of, well, that's a little bit different than when you're at the natural end of life, right? With the prolonged illness or whatever the diagnosis is. Accident's going to be a little bit different, but again, you might not. So yeah, I'm not the medical, doc or 5 minutes. Talk to your doc about that. Yeah. And talk. I mean, there's nothing to stop you from talking. You don't have to fill out any of the paperwork, but just express. This is where I am. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. Shall we fill this out together? Or he or she may say, no, I don't think it's time for you to do that yet. Or yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So I can't answer that. But yeah, we can never be too clear. Yeah.
This is terrific and wonderful. In terms of the financial and the legal side, of course, estate planning attorneys and financial planners can cover those. Are there similar professional services that can be consulted to help cover holistically, comprehensively, these medical pieces outside of the doctor, just to make sure that you have those things covered?
I am not aware. Is anyone else aware of that?
Stephen, do you know anything about that? Yeah.
I'll just say that when you're doing estate planning, that usually usually the medical decision making is part of that process as well. So obviously there are things that lawyers can't answer from the medical side, just like a lot of times there are things the medical side can't answer legally. But that's why it's really important, I think, to have a team of people. It's not just the legal or just the medical, but working with multiple people at the same time to make sure you have that comprehensive plan that you're talking about.
And Dilly will be talking next week too, and he does that, sits down financially with people, but he's got the 5 wishes at his office too to help encourage people. I don't think he sits down with them and does it at that time, but he does encourage people to cover themselves medically as well, so that helps. Yes?
My best friend died at the beginning of May, my good friend since 1968. She was a kidney transplant recipient. She had, dozens of medications to take every day. She fell out of bed, hit her head. Paramedics came. I was right there. They took her to the hospital. They did several different surgeries on her. And when I got in to see her, which was like 14 hours later, she was hooked up to 11 different machines. She was gone. You know,
Wow.
but that's what they did. If you don't have that DNR.
Yeah. Thank you. One more. Yes.
Where do you obtain the paperwork that you're speaking of?
I've got the doctor's orders from your doctor. If you maybe there's some extra folders. If not, I can make some more up so that you can get the. I just offered a.
It should be in the file that you have right there.
Yeah, there are just a couple of examples in there, but they are not limited. There are thousands of directives. So choose one that you like and are familiar with, or one that your doctor recommends. Again, I just wanted to give you a couple of samples. This has been great. You guys have been so helpful.
Can we give Francis a round of applause? Thank you.
I got some. Thank you.
Like I said, the conversation will continue next week. We'll be shifting modes ever so slightly into the legal and the financial things that we need to have in place. But I hope you can hear, we can hear, all of us can hear together the reason and way in which this is both complicated and highly necessary. So we appreciate you being here and hopefully learning some things and contributing your own experiences and questions to the morning. So thank you guys very much. We'll be ready in about 15 minutes to get started with church. Thank you.